गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतानः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we completed the 17th chapter in the last class. 17th chapter is that Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga. So we have to do a summary of it today. So when we started this chapter, that is Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga, we saw that this particular chapter is a follow-up of the earlier chapter, that is 16th chapter, which is Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, where Lord Krishna, in the last two shlokas of that particular chapter, Lord Krishna referred to Shastra. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante, he said. And then he also said, Ye Shastra Vidhimutsrujya, etc., etc. So then Arjuna got a doubt from that, with that reference to Shastra. Arjuna got a doubt. Okay, there may be people who are aware of the procedure which is there laid down in the Shastra, but there may be many people who do not know what is there in the Shastra, but who still want to perform some good deeds with Shraddha. They also know, say they have seen Vruddha Vyavahara, we have come across that word, that is, they have seen their elders, they have seen their fathers, they have seen their grandfathers, forefathers, grandfathers, etc. And then, okay, my great-grandfather did this, my grandfather did this, let me also do this, that is Vruddha Vyavahara Darshanat. So in fact, we at that time realized that this is a chapter which is most relevant for all of us, who are very much cut off from the tradition. We are almost cut off from the tradition, and maybe the last small strings are holding on, and then we have to strengthen those strings, otherwise it will be cut off. So this tradition, we are just holding on by thin strings. We have, unless we strengthen those strings, the tradition will be cut off. So that is the problem. So now this becomes very, very relevant, because we are not aware of the Shastra tradition, but still we are endowed with some amount of Shraddha. So this doubt Arjuna raised. So when Arjuna raised this doubt, then Krishna started analyzing what exactly is Shraddha. So he realized that this is a very, very generalized question. Which cannot be answered in a very simple manner, but it deserves some analysis. So he started analyzing what is Shraddha. There are various types of human actions, yajna, dhanam, tapas and things like that. So in all these things, what is the type of Shraddha, and what are the different types of Shraddha? When it applied to yajna, how it works, when it applied to dhanam, how it works, when it applied to tapas, how it works, and also when it applies to ahara. So, and again with the background of Satvika, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, these three gunas. These three are the personality types, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. These are the three gunas which are creating so many personality types. And all our behavior is because of the impact of those three gunas only. So Krishna starts analyzing this Shraddha, various aspects of Shraddha. And we also saw that this Gita's endeavor. What is the basic endeavor of Gita? The basic endeavor of Gita is to equate this Tvam to, or raise this Tvam to the level of Tat. It is basically meant to elevate this Jiva to the level of Brahma. And for that, it is prescribing some path. It is telling, okay, you follow this procedure, you do this, it is prescribing some path. Isn't it? So that path, who has to travel? We have to travel. You and I have to travel. And when we are traveling on a particular path, we also need some equipment. In order to walk along that path. So if you are a mountaineer climbing some Mount Everest or something like that, you have to carry all this mountain climbing equipment. Or if you are going to some other place, desert, you have to carry some other equipment which suits that particular place. So when you are on a spiritual journey, what is it we have to carry? We have to carry Shraddha. Shraddha, first of all, Shraddha. So, Shraddha Vitto Bhutva. That Shraddha is the money. Shraddha is the Vittam. Vittam is money. Shraddha is the wealth. Shraddha Vitto Bhutva, you have to travel. So, that is what is required in this particular thing. So, this particular, Shraddha is being analyzed here. And the meaning of Shraddha also we discussed at the very beginning. What is the meaning of Shraddha? Shraddha, it is a slightly complicated word which cannot be simply translated as faith or something like that. So we saw some definitions like, say faith, then willingness, trust is one, then willingness to follow a code, then intensely pursuing a particular objective. So all these things are there, but sense of dedication, that spirit of dedication probably seems to be closest to what is meant by Shraddha. Shraddha is basically an attitude of mind which reflects in all our actions, in all our activities. This Shraddha is reflected, and this is basically an attitude of mind. It is the spirit of dedication. It is a spirit of dedication, and we can also call it a sort of a conscious and willing acceptance of a particular code of conduct. A conscious, willing acceptance of a particular code of conduct, and faith in that, trust in that Guru, trust in the Shastra that I am going to achieve. That confidence that you are going to achieve, that confidence also is very much there, very much needed. So that is what is Shastra. So here we saw Bhagavan Uvacha, say Trividha Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam Sa Swabhavaja. So here he made a point. This Shraddha is Swabhavaja. Swabhava. What is Swabhava? Swabhava is something which is born out of, which is emanating from the, say the Vasanas, the previous Vasanas. Sattvanurupa sarvasya Shraddha Bhavati Bharata. This Antahkarana, Sattva means Antahkarana. I am reading the third shloka. Sattva is Antahkarana. One's Shraddha depends on the Antahkarana. And Antahkarana is a collection of all the Vasanas. Antahkarana is a collection or an accumulation or a baggage of all the Vasanas and Samskaras which have come to us from the previous birth. At the time of birth, that is the equipment with which we are born. And depending on the impact of circumstances, depending on the type of education we do, depending on the type of education we receive, so all this Shraddha undergoes some change. Some Sattvika fellow may come to Rajasa level, or Rajasa fellow can come to a Sattvika level. So this particular personality changes as the time flows. So this Sattvan, to the starting point anyway, the starting point is determined by the Vasanas of the previous birth, whereas the Shastra can elevate this man from that lower level to a higher level. So that is another thing we saw. Sattvanurupa sarvasya Shraddha Bhavati Bharata. This personality of a person is defined by the type of Shraddha. Then Shraddhamayoyam Purushaha. A human being is only a Shraddhamayaha. Yo yat Shraddhaha Sayeva Saha. Whatever Shraddha a person has, that defines his personality. A Shraddha defines the man. Shraddha defines a personality, or rather the personality is built around that Shraddha. So that is what he said. Then he gave a general idea about, what people do, people with different types of Shraddha, what they do. So then he says, the fourth shloka, he said, Yajante Sattvika Devan Yaksha Rakshamsi Rajasaha. So Pretan Bhutagananschanye Yajante Tamasa Janaha. So here he says, when this Shraddha is applied to the idea, the karma called Yajna, when you are applying this Shraddha to Yajna, or with particular reference to Yajna, when you see, then you see that somebody is worshipping gods, somebody is worshipping Yaksha and Rakshasa, etc. Somebody else is worshipping Pretas, Bhutaganas, etc., etc. So depending on this, depending on the deity whom you are worshipping, you can be classified. So if you are worshipping these devas and people like that, good, say some divine beings, then you have that Sattvika spirit. If you are seeking some wealth and if you are worshipping some Yaksha, Rakshasa, etc., etc., you belong to that Rajas category. Then if you are worshipping some other Preta, Bhuta, Preta, Pishacha, etc., etc., in order to harm somebody else, or for some other evil design, with some evil design, so that then a person belongs to this Tamasa category. So it is like In English we say, tell me your friends, I will tell you what you are. So it is something similar. Tell me your God, I will tell you what you are. So if you are worshipping gods, etc., you belong to that sattva category. If you are worshipping rakshasas and yakshas, you are becoming you are a rajasa. And then if you are worshipping some other say spirits for some evil designs, with some evil design in mind, then you are a tamasa category. Then he also briefly referred to ashastra vihitam ghoram tapyante ye tapaha janaha dambhahankara sanyuktaha. So then again some other people, they do this ashastra vihitam, something which is not at all mentioned in the scripture, and then ghoram, which is something which is torturous to oneself and torturous to others, which is frightening, ghoram. Then dambha hankara sanyuktaha. Dambha, we have seen this, the word dambha, that is dharma dhvajitvam. A person ahankara sanyuktaha, that is a person with a very, very dominating ego. A person with a dominating ego. And then kama raga balanvitaha. Kama is desire, raga is attachment. Kama raga vivarjitam is something which is a divine say vibhuti. Balam balavatam chaham kama raga vivarjitam. But here it is kama raga balanvitaha. So here it is something which is opposite to the divine. Then these people, they also say, what do? Karshayantaha sharirastham bhutagramam. They also torture. They also say make this the five elements which have formed this body-mind complex. Bhutagramam, sharirastham bhutagramam. Sharirastham bhutagramam is the five elements which have taken the shape of this body-mind complex. We are weakening that. We are enfeebling them. We are weakening all these things. And then in the process, you are also disobeying God's law. Mam chaiva antasharirastham. You are also weakening me. Weakening me in what manner? That is by not following my word. By not following my word, you are weakening me. Then such people, they are all people tan vidhi asura nishchayan. They are the people who have this devilish say decisions. They have taken such devilish say goals, rather devilish goals. Then he has come to this ahara. Ahara is also three types. Ahara again belongs to say sattva, rajas and tamas category. Similarly, yajna, dana, tapas, etc. They also belong to, they also can be classified into three. So then he first starts analyzing this ahara. Ahara, we also saw that Ayurveda Shastra goes very deeply into this ahara, the type of ahara we say eat, and then what type of ahara produces what type of reaction in the body. You can just make a reference to this Ayurveda or Charaka Samhita or Sushruta Samhita. They give a detailed description of what type of food item develops what type of say character or what type of say personality. So food determines the personality. Yad annam tad buddhihi. That also I mentioned. Annam is something which goes to the making of the mind, and depending on the type of food we eat, our mind is processed. Then here this sattvika ahara is ayus sattva bala arogya sukha priti vivardhanaha. These are items, this sattvika, the sattva guna pradhana, a person who is endowed with this sattva guna, he takes food items which develop this ayu. Ayu means longevity. Then sattva is utsaha shakti, the spirit of enthusiasm. Then arogya, that is absence of roga, absence of disease is arogya. Then sukha priti vivardhanaha. Sukha is chitta prasada, says calmness of mind, and then you should develop some further taste for that. Then rasyaha snigdhaha, some juicy and also oily substances, and which go to the making of the body. Sthiraha, which are body building blocks, something like proteins. Hrudyaha, aharaha, sattvika priyaha. And those which do not cause harm to the body, they are the things which are liked by these sattvikas. And in contrast, these people, aharaha rajasa, rajasa ahara. Rajasa, these people, they want more, a stronger food, say like what all we have in our 5-star hotels, etc. Katu, amla, lavana, atyushna, tikshna, ruksha vidahinaha. something which is katu, something which is very bitter or sour, or something which is highly salty or highly say tikshna. Tikshna is something like chili and pepper. If you eat chili and pepper, it will burn us from inside. That is why he said vidahinaha. Vidahinaha means which actually burns up. Tikshna, ruksha. Ruksha is opposite to rasya. Rasya is juicy. Ruksha is something which is dry, desiccated, roasted type of thing. Then aharaha rajasasyeshtaha dukkha shoka amaya pradaha. So it actually produces dukkha. While eating also it is very, very dukkha. It is rather difficult to eat. And then in the long run also it produces shoka. And also disease. Amaya. Amaya means disease. In the long run, they will cause you all types of problems like cholesterol and things like that. So that is it. Of course, Krishna's time they didn't know cholesterol. We know that. So then tamasa food. What is the type of tamasa food? Something which is not cooked in the prescribed manner. Yata yamam. Something which is not cooked in the prescribed manner. Then gatarasam. Something which has become dry because of long, it is just kept for a long time. In olden days, of course, there was no fridge. Then puti. Puti means something which is spoiled, putrid. Something which has become putrid and smelling, foul smelling. Puti means foul smelling. Then paryushitam. Paryushitam is kept overnight. Something which is food which is kept overnight. And then uchishtam. Somebody has eaten and gone away, and then something else is remaining. Something which is left over. That is what is called uchishtam. Something which is left over after somebody else has eaten and gone away. Then amedhyam. Something which is unsuitable for that yajna. Something which is ayajñarham. Something which is not suitable for yajna. So that is what is called amedhya. So such foods, that means he is prepared to eat any type of food. He is prepared to eat any type of discarded food. So this is something which is eaten by the tamasa jana. Then now we are coming to yajna. When you are applying the concept of shraddha to yajna, so what is the type of what are these types? Again, similarly, satvika yajna, rajasa yajna, and tamasa yajna. What is this satvika yajna? Satvika yajna means something Sattva guna is something sattva sanjayate jnanam, isn't it? Something which is contributory to jnanam, something which is likely to contribute or flow towards jnanam is something which is sattvika. So here, that is why aphala kankshibhihi yajnaha vidhi drushtaha yajyate. Something which is done aphala kankshibhihi, not desiring the fruit, not clinging on to the fruit of that particular action. That means, what does it mean? Karma yoga. In other words, karma yoga. Karma yoga, which is done with the sense that this is my duty. Yashtavyameva. The next line says, Yashtavyameveti manas samadhaya. That is, this is my duty. This is my duty to do this yajna in the interest of people, in the interest of society. So, in fact, karma yogi, he does any action for chitta shuddhi. Karma yogi does it for Ishwararpana buddhi. What is Ishwararpana buddhi? Ishwararpana buddhi is not merely thinking that it is an order from the Lord, etc. It is putting yourself in the shoes of the Lord. Putting yourself in the shoe of the Lord. If the Lord were to be in my position, how would he perform? If God were to be in my position, how would he perform? He would not perform with any selfish intention. He would perform in the interest of welfare of humanity. So I have to do this thing in the interest of humanity. So that is what is the crux of karma yoga. Karma yoga is putting yourself into the shoe of the Lord, and then seeing that it is your duty to help the samashti, vyashti versus samashti. This vyashti is nothing but the individual will. This individual will is surrendered to the will of the God. That is will of the Almighty, will of the cosmic mind, let us say. And then you are not following your individual will, you are following that cosmic will, which is in the interest of the whole world. It is not in the interest of one man, it is in the interest of the whole world. So that is what is karma yoga.
One word also you mentioned, samarpana, whether he will accept all the deeds done by us. Samarpana.
Yes.
whether he is accepting the deeds, what we are doing,
Mm.
in that manner.
Yeah, that also.
Keeping in.
Yeah, keeping in mind whether the God will accept whatever I am doing or not. That is, whatever I am doing, is it acceptable to God or not? So, in other words, whether it is acceptable to God or not. It is acceptable to God only when it falls in His design. If it is in accordance with His design, he approves it. If it is not in accordance with His plan, He cannot approve. So, that is it. Then the next shloka talks about the 12th shloka. It tells about the kamya karma. We are not talking about chitta shuddhi here. Abhisandhayatu phalam dambhartham api chaiva yat. We are talking about rajasa yajna. We have seen that say sattvika yajna, which is done by a karma yogi for chitta shuddhi in accordance with the divine will. So now we are coming to the kamya karma, which is not for chitta shuddhi. Abhisandhayatu phalam dambhartham api chaivetu. Dambha, yeah, I am the big man. I am doing the biggest, mighty, say very great yajna. So we have come across some yajnas recently performed. Somebody does some yajna. What is that yajna we saw in Bhadrachalam? So some time ago, there were some great people, many people they collected and then performed a very great yajna. So like that, so they would try to display, they would like to display either their knowledge or their power or their capacity to organize a very huge yajna. Then, so such a thing which is not for chitta shuddhi but for demonstration. So in fact, in this context, we can recall that old story of Dharmaraja. I think some time ago, long ago, I told you the story of Dharmaraja and the mongoose, the half gold, the mongoose which has turned into gold. Part of the mongoose has turned into gold and part of it is, say, ordinary flesh. So you remember that story?
Yeah.
There was when this Dharmaraja, after the end of this Mahabharata war, then there were absolutely no rivals, and then say he performed that Rajasuya Yaga, and he performed a very, very mighty yajna. And after that mighty yajna, he gave great donations to all people, great dhanam. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Brahmins came, and then he gave hundreds and hundreds of cows and whatnot, and also a lot of gold, etc. to them. And then at that time there was an idea, some idea flashed in his mind that, oh, I am doing a very, very mighty yajna. So Lord Krishna was also observing it. So at that time, a mongoose also came there. A mongoose, a small mongoose came. And then, say it rolled itself in the waters where that whenever some dhanam is given, you pour some water into the hand of the other man. You pour through your hand, you pour water into the hand of the other man. You say tubhyamaham dadami, namama. So tubhyamaham sampradade, namama, etc. We say tubhyamaham sampradade means I am giving this to you. It is not mine. So with that intention, you are putting some water. So a lot of water was also there. And one mongoose came, and then that mongoose was rolling this side and that side, and then it was trying to do something. It was almost bathing in that water. So then Lord Krishna asks that mongoose, why you are bathing in that water? So Lord Krishna, in a mischievous way, he asks that mongoose. So that mongoose tells, so my dear sir, you see my body is half gold and half animal like. So I want to turn my whole body into gold. So how did it happen earlier, this half thing, how did it happen? So that says, okay, there was one very, very poor Brahmin was there in the neighborhood. There is a very, very poor Brahmin. So that poor Brahmin, one day he was preparing to have his food, and then at that time he and his wife, his son and daughter-in-law. So these four people, they were just preparing, they were getting ready to eat their food. So the daughter-in-law was probably serving, and then this father and son, they were sitting and they were ready to eat. At that time, some guest came, and then he said, when the guest comes, naturally you have to offer food. So there is only adequate food only for them. There was no food. So the father said, okay, I am offering my food. So then the father offered the food. Then even the guest was still hungry. So the son also offered his food. Then the guest was still hungry, and then the mother also, she said the mother also offered her food. Then the daughter-in-law also offered her food. So the guest, of course, that was a test by Dharma Devata, the god of Dharma. He was trying to test them as to what extent these people can go for doing charity. So the man, after a long time, he got some food, and then that food also he donated to all the, say, to a guest. So at that time, while giving food, naturally you are putting water into the hand of that man, isn't it? When you aposanam, that aposana you pour water into his hand. So that water was there, and this mongoose, just by sheer accident, it crossed that path. Just by sheer accident, it went in that path, and then it say usually in olden days mongoose were kept in the house also. It was a domestic animal. So the mongoose, it accidentally moved in that particular water, and half of its body turned into gold. Because whatever portion touched whatever water touched it, that entire portion became gold. And then right from that time, it was expecting. So whenever somebody does some yajna, so it was going, and then it was rolling itself in that.
Wow.
So at last, when Dharmaraja was performing this very great yajna, the mongoose, it was so confident, oh yes, this Dharmaraja is performing a very, very mighty yajna. At least here my whole body will turn into gold. So with that great hope it came, and then it was rolling itself, but nothing happened. So then Lord Krishna, he looks at Dharmaraja, and Dharmaraja felt ashamed. He felt ashamed that idea which flashed in his mind, that he was doing a very great yajna, it was nothing but this abhisandhayatu phalam and dambhartham, etc., etc. He might not have done this phalabhisandhi, but then this some little bit of ego flashed in him. So that is what spoiled that whole thing. So ijyate bharatashrestha tam yajnam vidhi rajasam. That particular thing is rajasa. Then we come to vidhihinam, asrushtanam, mantrahinam, adakshinam. That is done very, very imperfectly. Vidhihinam, and then mantrahinam. This the mantra, swara, etc. I explained to you. Mantrahinam, swarahinam, mantra. It can be defective when a particular varna is missing, or when a particular swara is missing. Mantro hinaha swarato varnato va. Sa vag vajra hai yajamanam hinasti. That becomes a vag vajra. That becomes a vajrayudham, and it hits the yajamani. Then also shraddha virahitam, devoid of any sort of dedication. Then that particular such a thing is something which is a tamasa yajna. Then you come to tapas. Tapas again, there is a classification from 2 points of view. That is, one point of view is vachika, kayika, manasa tapas. Vachika is what we speak, kayika is what we do, and manasa is what we think. So these 3 types of tapas. So between yajna and tapas, we can find some subtle difference. Yajna is something which is to a large extent a group activity. Lot many people are there, you have to do some dhanam, and then lot many people are involved there. Tapas is more an individual activity. Where even it applies even for a sannyasi. Suppose there is a sannyasi, sarva karma sannyasi. Sarva karma sannyasis, again they are of 2 types. One is a vidvat sannyasi and one is a vividisha sannyasi. Vidvat sannyasi is somebody who has attained knowledge, who has attained that brahmajnana, and then he has left all the activities. Vividisha is vetum ichcha. So a person in the path of that jnana, in advance he gives up all these things and then becomes a sannyasi, and then he is practicing all these shama, dhamma, etc., shravana, manana, nididhyasana, etc. he is following. So that gentleman also, all these things apply, because he may not be doing yajna, he may not be doing dhanam, but then this antahkarana, tapas is very much there. Ahara is also very much there. Ahara also applies to him. Satvika ahara, whether he is taking satvika ahara, or sometimes you go to a rich man's house and take all rajasa, tamasa type of ahara. So it again depends. So this tapas is something, is a more an individual affair. So you say from this point of view, you see this tapas categorized in 2 manners, that is from the point of view of kayika, vachika, manasa, and again from the point of view of sattva, rajas, tamas. From the point of view of sattva, rajas, tamas, there is a classification. From the point of view of sattvika, kayika, vachika, manasa, there is a classification. So here you see this Trikarana point of view, Deva Dvija Guru Prajna Pujanam Shaucham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapauchyate. This we have seen all these characteristics. That is, say, respecting, honoring elders. Then Shaucham, Kaika Vachika Manasa Shaucham. Then Brahmacharyam, always focusing your mind on Brahman. Then Ahimsa, not physical, it refers to both physical himsa and also mental himsa. You use all barbed words and stinging words to people, and then people, it actually affects more than a physical blow. So that is ahimsa. Ahimsa is to avoid all that is ahimsa, avoiding either physical say attack or say attack by words. So this attack on the mind, psychological attack. So all those things, avoiding all that is ahimsa. Then that is all that is shariram tapa. It applies to a gruhastha. It also applies to a sannyasi who is a vividisha sannyasi. Then vangmayam tapa. With regard to speech, what is that? Anudvegakaram vakyam. Anudvega means something which excites the other person, something which agitates the other person. Exciting or agitating. Udvega, yasman nodvijate lokaha, lokan nodvijate chayaha. That shloka we have to borrow here. Udvega is that, say, agitated mind, an agitated state of mind. Anudvegakaram vakyam. Then it should also be satyam, priyam, hitam. All four have to be there. Shankaracharya gave an elaborate commentary there that all four have to be there. Even if one is absent, then it will not be vangmayam tapa. Even if one is absent, say it falls short of that say definition. Then swadhyaya abhyasanam is an independent thing. Then you come to manasa tapa. Manasam tapam is manah prasadaha, that is absence of this vishaya chintanam, absence of the desire for sensual sense objects. And then that is because of understanding, proper understanding. Manah prasada. When does that prasada come? This prasada comes only when there is an understanding, proper understanding. Then saumyatvam, that is being good to all. Then maunam atma vinigraha. Bhava samshuddhi. Bhava samshuddhi is purity of thought. Then all these constitute manasam tapa, that is this tapas which is done by the mind. Then tapas, as we have seen, is something which is an individual activity. It is an activity which is reflected in your mind, which is reflected in your words, which is reflected in your deeds. Then when it comes to, say, when we are analyzing it from the guna point of view, sattva, rajas, tamo, guna point of view, you see this satvika tapas is like this. Shraddhaya paraya taptam tapaha tat trividham naraihi aphalakankshibhihi yuktaihi satvikam parichachate. Again here, this is tapas, aphalakangsha. Here again, tapas also, there is something called phala. Say for example, in all these things, Deva Pujanam, Dvija Pujanam, Guru Pujanam, Prajna Pujanam, it may not be full-fledged yajna. It is not full-fledged yajna, but it is also a type of tapas. It is a type of austerity. It is a type of spiritual practice, a spiritual discipline rather. So in all these things, there is something called a spiritual merit, punyam. So here, Shraddhaya Paraya Taptam, with all Shraddha you are doing it, and then Aphala Kanksha, you have something which is, you are not desiring the fruit of that. Then Yuktaihi, Yukta means Yoga Yukta. This is something from a sort of, you are doing all this from a sense of understanding, with a sense of proper understanding, a sort of enlightened dedication. It is not an ordinary dedication, it is a sort of enlightened dedication. So that is Satvika. A sort of enlightened dedication is that yoga, yuktaihi. Yuktai means one who is having that yoga is yukta. One who is having yoga is called yukta. So yuktaihi, this yuktaihi is the important word here, aphalakankshibhihi and yuktaihi. Aphalakangsha again is, you are following the universal law, you are following the universal mind, not the individual will. So that is Satvika. Then again this tapa, the austerity which is also done for the purpose of satkara, mana, puja, etc. Satkara, we have seen, satkara is somebody say, it is basically fame. fame and name. Then mana is respect. Then pujartham, somebody comes and says, oh, he is such a great man. So satkara, mana and puja are three different levels. Satkara is ordinary thing, even from a distance, okay, I only say that he is a good man. Then mana, I respect him. Puja is much more respect, pada prakshalana, etc., Shankaracharya was clarifying. Then tapaha, dambhena shaiva, that dharma dvajitvam, I am the greatest tapasvi, I am doing this tapasvi. Please keep a board also that there is a, here resides a great tapasvi. So kriyate tadiha proktam rajasam shalam adhruvam. You are invited everywhere, people are worshipping you, washing your feet, and then they are giving donations, etc. But ultimately, the real result of that phalam, real result of that tapas, you will not be getting. Real result of the tapas is jnana. You should lead a person to jnana. It is not leading a person to jnana, it is only giving him some money, etc. That is shalam adhruvam. Shalam means impermanent, something which is fleeting. Then there is another chap, that is tamasa tapaha. Mudhagrahena. Mudhagraha means a foolhardy determination. We take the examples of these Rakshasas, all these Rakshasas, if you read Ramayana or any other play, any other Purana, there are so many Rakshasas who do tapas in order to kill such and so and such a person, in order to vanquish or kill some such person, or to dominate the whole universe. So they do tapas. Like the villain in that James Bond movie, he wants to create his own world order. So like that, these people also want to create their own world order. So, mudhagrahena is that. Mudhagraha is foolhardily sticking on to an idea, sticking on to a goal, foolhardily catching hold of a goal. Then, yat pidaya kriyate, torturing himself and torturing others, pidaya. Then, parasya utsadanartham, in order to kill others, parasya utsadanam. Utsadanam means nasham, vinashartham, that is to kill others. That is all tamasa mudahurtam, all that is said to be tamasa. Then we come to this idea, the point of dhanam. Dhanam again we have seen that it is again from Satvika, Rajasa, Tamasa point of view. There are three types of dhanam which are described here. So dhanam is datavyamiti yad dhanam diyate anupakarine deshe kalecha patrecha. So this is again as a matter of duty, datavyam, this tavya pratyaya, like this yashtavyameveti. Like similarly it is datavya, this tavya pratyaya is, you have to do it, it is your duty. It is your duty as a person who has surrendered your will to the will of the Lord. That is datavyam. You have surrendered your will to the will of the Lord, so you have to do this dhanam. So with that sense of say duty, you are giving it. Datavyamiti yad dhanam. Then diyate anupakarine, and you are giving to somebody who has not done any favor to you earlier. And then again, deshe kalecha patrecha. Deshe, it should be a punya tirtha, it should be a place which is where your dhanam will enhance the result, will enhance the sanctity of what you are doing. Then kale, something like Sankranti. Then patrecha, you are giving to the appropriate person. Here again I was telling about how we have to identify some of these gap areas in which where the government is not at all interested. Government is not at all interested in promoting dharma or preserving dharma. So where we have to step in, people have to step in, and people have to donate, people have to give to scholars who are studying these books, scholars who are studying some Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads or some Shastra. We are supposed to support those scholars because they are the only link, that thin link between the tradition and us. So if that thin link is cut off, then tradition goes away and then we are left high and dry. So we have to identify the gap areas and we have to identify as to what exactly is the Satpatra Dhanam, and then we have to donate there. Then Yattu Pratyupakarartham. This we come to Rajasa Dhanam. Yattu Pratyupakarartham. Somebody, suppose I give something, expecting or with a very clear understanding that you are again going to give on some other occasion. You are again going to give back on some other occasion. That is to friends, relatives, or to some purohits, hoping that will give you some punya. So from that point of view, or to temples, purohit or temple also some people give some donations, hoping that it will give some punya. So pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam. Pariklishtam is painful. While giving also you are not very happily giving. You are giving in a rather with a painful attitude. A very, very reluctant, very perfunctory manner you are giving. So that is Rajasam. Then again, Adeshakale yaddanam apatrebhyasya diyate asatkrutam avajñatam. So that is Adeshakale. A person who is not bothered about where he is giving and at what time he is giving, and then whether the other person is a deserving person or not. So like giving to all government roads and say all these say buildings etc., where the engineer also claims equal amount of money and then swindles. So that is apatra danam. Apatrebhyasya diyate. Then asatkrutam, something which is done in a without satkara, that is asatkrutam, done in a disrespectful way. Then avajñatam. Avajñatam also is same thing, almost insulting. Asatkrutam without satkara. You have not done satkara, on the other hand you have insulted. Asatkrutam, avajñatam, the difference is, asatkrutam means you have not done any satkara, you have not honored, but on the other hand you have insulted. Asatkrutam and avajñatam. Tat tamasam udahurtam. That sort of thing is tamasa. Then at the end of all this, say this Om, Tat, Sat, these three things have been mentioned. And Shankaracharya was giving a brief avatarika for that. Sadgunya Karanaya. Sadgunya Karanaya means whatever actions you have done, you have been doing, even if there is some mistake. So though you are performing all these things, yajna, danam, tapas with some amount of shraddha, all in that satvika level only. Satvika shraddha, satvika danam, satvika yajnam, satvika tapas. Even there is some lapse. There is some lapse somewhere. If that is so, all that can be sanctified. The whole thing can be redeemed by say reciting these things, Om, Tat and Sat, because these are the three words which refer to the Supreme Brahman. This Om, Tat and Sat we discussed as to how these three things they refer to Brahman. So these, by reciting these three words, and where exactly these have to be discussed, that also is mentioned here. So by reciting these, whatever defects are there, all those defects are remedied. All those defects are remedied to sanctify them, and then there can be a defect in this desha, kala, patra. While giving some donation, there can be you have not done at the right time, right place, or to the right person, or similarly when you're doing yajna. So some defect, all these defects can be redeemed by this reciting of this Om Tat Sat, which means this Brahma Bhavana. In other words, Brahma Bhavana is, what is Brahma Bhavana? Om, Tat and Sat, these three words refer to the Supreme Brahman. So which means that whatever danam you are doing, at the time of giving that danam, you are recalling these names. So with that sort of Brahman consciousness you are doing. So that these things they do, that will purify the actions which you are doing. So he says, Om Tat Saditi Nirdesha Brahmanas Trividha Smrutaha Brahmanas Tena Vedascha Yajñascha Vihitaha Pura. So the Brahmanas, the Vedas and also Yajñas, the whole structure of these three things. Brahmana is the Karta, Vedas is the Karanam, and Yajna is the action, Karma. So all these three things, they are structured in this particular framework of Om, Tat and Sat. So therefore, Tasmad Omityudahurtya. Therefore, you recite this particular Om, and then you are supposed to give this Yajna, Danam, Tapas. Pravartante Vidhanoktaha Satatam Brahmavadinam. All these Brahmavadins, all the people who follow these Vedic rituals and all that, they recite this word Om, and then they perform this Yajna, Danam, Tapas. Then Tad. Tad is something which is done at the time of Danam. At the time of Danam, Tadityanavisandhaya phalam Yajnadana Tapah Kriyaha Dana Kriyascha Vividhaha Kriyante Moksha Kankshibhihi. This is for Chitta Shuddhi. So this is for Chitta Shuddhi. When you are doing a karma with the spirit of that Karma Yoga, with the spirit of Karma Yoga, phalam anabhisandhaya. The difference between the earlier shloka and this shloka is that in the earlier shloka there is a phalabhisandhi. In this particular shloka, there is no phala abhisandhi. Anabhisandhaya phalam, that is without keeping the fruit of that action, fruit of that karma in mind, you are doing this yajna, dana, tapas, and then you are reciting the thing tad iti dana kriyasya vividha kriyante moksha kangshivihi. By those who are desirous of moksha, they employ this word tat for chitta shuddhi, and then with that sense of Brahman awareness that it is for the purpose of attaining moksha. Then sat, the last word is sat, sadbhave sadhubhave cha. Then sadbhave, the commentator Shankaracharya said, sadbhava, when something good takes place, when something good has come into existence, or something which was not there earlier, it has come into existence. So sadhubhave, so virtuous conduct, any virtuous activity which has been done, then you say sat, you qualify it by saying sat. Prashaste karmani, prashasta means something which is praiseworthy. In any praiseworthy activity, you say sat shabdaha partha yujyate. You say sat danam, sat yajnam, sat tapaha. Like that, that word sat is used. So like that, then yajne tapasi danecha sthitihi saditi cha uchyate. And also that steadiness in yajna, tapas and dana, that also is called sat. Sat means something which is righteous, which is truthful. When a person is steadily doing this yajna, steady in his tapas, steady in his danam, so that activity also is called sat. So then karma chaiva tadarthiyam sadityeva abhidhiyate. And any activity done from that point of view, tadarthiyam, there were two meanings for this word tadarthiyam. Tadarthiyam means for the purpose of yajna, tapas and dana. That is tadarthiyam. Or it says Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Tad means Ishvara. Tadarthiyam means for the purpose of Ishvara. Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. So whatever is done with that mind, it is called Sat. So then it comes to, we are coming to the end of this chapter. Ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapaha taptam krutam chayat asadit yuchyate partha nacha tat pretya noiha. So anything which is devoid of shraddha, devoid of dedication, whatever hutam, whatever yajna, whatever danam you have done and whatever tapas somebody has done, then it is all called asat. Asat means unrighteous, false, unreal.
Non-existing.
So, sorry?
Unexisting.
Yeah, non-existing also. It is as good as non-existing. It is as good as non-existing. He partha. Nacha tat pretya no iha. It doesn't help a person either in this world, no iha. Iha means in this world, nor pretya, nor in the other world. It doesn't help a person either in this world or in the other world. So this is how we saw this Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga. So at the end we have to recapitulate, we have to conclude that this whole thing is a sort of exercise in transforming oneself. The whole thing is an exercise in transforming oneself to rise to the level of that Brahman. So all these shlokas are meant for meditation. Every shloka here, not only here but almost every, the whole Gita is like that. But particularly here, because all these refer to the human conduct. See, particularly this 14, 15, 16, 17 chapters, and also of course this is going to continue in the 18th also. 18th chapter also, again there is a reference to Rajasa, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and some more activities are going to be analyzed in this 18th chapter from this point of view only. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas framework, some more activities are going to be analyzed in the 18th chapter. So all these things, they are meant for meditation. Each shloka we have to take one day and then dwell on that, see where we are. See where we are in all our activities, see where we are. So that is how we have to read this chapter. With that we come to the end of this this 17th chapter. So here what we have seen is, basically it is Karma Yoga which is highlighted here also. It is done, any activity done with an Ishwararpana Buddhi. So where all our works, they become totally impersonal. Whatever we work, whatever we do, it becomes totally impersonal. Impersonal in the sense you are not doing it for any personal gain. So it is such an impersonal act which is done, in the interest of humanity. So that is what is Karma Yoga. So that is what is highlighted here. So I think we'll end here. We will take up 18th chapter in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.